this thing on? Is this really happening? Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to The Tool Show. And I am back in the heart of it all. That's what we call Ohio. Did you know that? We call Ohio the heart of it all. We are talking podcasts today, ladies and gentlemen. Do you podcast? Do you know the podcast? You know the word, right? When it came out, it was like the thing. And then it kind of, everybody was like, who's going to have a podcast? What podcast are you going to do? And that sort of thing. And then it kind of fell off of the scene for other flashier things like video, YouTube and that sort of thing. But what you need to know is the world of podcasting is alive and well and thriving, I tell you. I am hooked on podcasts. So we're going to talk today about why you would want a podcast and how to podcast, and then that'll probably be it. Well, then that'll be all. If you are new to the show, welcome. It really is happening. Last week totally did not happen. I totally suck. I am so sorry that I don't know what happened. I still to this minute don't know what happened. It was working. We were we were there. Greg and I were talking. We were like, hey man, this is really working. I can't even believe it. I was somewhere still west. He was here in Ohio. And then we couldn't find the publish button. I don't know. Literally, there was no publish button. And then after the show, of course, then we tried it again. There was a publish button. So I don't know. Really sorry. But it appears that I'm online here. So if you're new, you can write questions or comments in the comment or question box, like number one most popular comment or question. When are we going to be talking about marketing? Love that one. Love it. I can't get it enough of that one. So please feel free to ask that one or any other question you would like to ask. So first of all, I have a question for you. Do any of you listen to podcasts? And if you do, put them in the comment box that I was just showing you. See this comment box? Put it in there. I want to know. I want to know what... look, somebody's following me. Hooray! That's so nice. So this guy got me started in my obsession with listening to podcasts. This is Joe Rogan. Do you... I bet you know the name Joe Rogan. I knew him. I'm a Johnny-come-lately as far as Joe Rogan is concerned. Met him. Was introduced to him on Fear Factor. He was that host. Remember that guy, Fear Factor? But the diehards on the Joe Rogan Experience will have known him for many years before then. He's a comedian, a well-regarded comedian. He is also a commentator for the... I wanted to say WWE. He would hate that. It's the the people that really fight, UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship. Thank you. Knew it would hit me. UFC, but he gets all kinds of people to be on his podcast. Did you know that our president recently did a podcast? Obama podcast. Mark Maron. Sorry, lame. Mark Maron. I do not listen regularly to the Mark Maron podcast, WTF, but it is a podcast that he does out of his garage. And the president came to Mark's studio in his garage and did a podcast. Really great, incidentally. Episode 613. That means he has done, up to that point, 613 podcasts. Now, just to give you an idea, that was on June 22nd. Okay, so episode guide. Let's see where we're at right now. 630. since that time. These guys, these podcasters are prolific. Joe Rogan here is on episode 686. The guy I'm really into these days is Duncan Trussell, another comedian. He's not for everybody, but I like him. He just talks about really cool spiritual stuff. Well, just really out there spiritual stuff. 164 episodes, so you can see he's kind of like a little slow comparatively. It looks like he's only doing about an episode a week. Whereas if you look at Joe Rogan, these guys, see, 8:19, look at that. He was doing one a day for a while, 13, 12, 11, 8, 7, 6. He's doing about 3 or 4 a week. And these are, wait for it, 4 hours long. 4 hours long, typically. So here, let's just take this Jeff Ross one here. We'll see what the time on this was. Only 2 hours and 31 minutes. Okay, yeah, you know what? I could be a little exaggerating on the 4 hours. A lot of times there have been 2.5, 3 hours. But meaty. I listen to them on my way to and from work. It takes me 10 minutes to get to work, 10 minutes to get home. Depends if it's rush minute here in Akron. If it's rush minute, it could take me 11 or 12 minutes, and then I get more time. There are times I'm sitting in my driveway finishing up listening to a particular conversation in a podcast. But I'll listen, to all the hours, just time, just over a series of days. I can't listen to all of them because I don't have that long of a commute, but really very powerful. And what I would tell you is that podcasts have become this unvarnished form of publishing. The best podcasters are podcasters that are hanging out with their friends and talking about what interests them. The interesting thing about listening to a podcast of a comedian is you will rarely laugh. I mean, every once in a while they might say something funny, but they're never going to do their skit. They're never going to give their jokes away on their podcast. If you want their jokes, you come to their show. So then you're like, well, why do they do it? Why does Joe Rogan spend 2.5 hours 3 times a week putting these together? And the podcasts become advertisement for these comedians to do their shows. They make their money on their shows, right? Or selling their wares, And so what they're doing is they are connecting you. They are connecting you to them personally. And what you always have to remember about marketing is people buy from who they know and who they like. And podcasts allow those relationships to happen. So like, for example, right now, what I'm doing right here, is sort of a long format, a half hour, but you're not learning anything about me. You're not learning about my trip to Yellowstone. You're not learning about my experience with the mama grizzly and the 2 cubs, which was probably the mama grizzly that got shot because she ate a human. And so our relationship doesn't get to deepen with this because I'm not learning about you. You're not learning about me. I'm just trying to tell you something about marketing so you could go back and not use it, No offense. I mean, I don't even podcast, but I want to. I want to podcast because it's super powerful, and the best marketers and the best users of digital media today are podcasting. And I really, really, really would like to start to get this in my repertoire of things to do because it's super awesome. So at any rate, those are the people that I listen to. The one other guy that probably is the best podcaster I've ever listened to is Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. Really has changed my perspective on the history. Best history courses you will ever take. Hardcore History, Dan Carlin. Not kidding. Please check it out. Free. So how do you podcast, you ask? I'm so glad you asked. Thank you for asking. So the best way, the easiest way to podcast is on your phone. On your phone, I tell you. Because, you know why? Because if you have an iPhone, I honestly, I can't remember what people have these days. Oh, great. Okay. On Android devices, I haven't had an Android in a while. But every iPhone comes with the voice memo feature. And where is it? It's right here. Voice memo. Right there. Start a conversation, okay? So I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. Let's see. Will you?
Well, you got to see where. You got to know what button to push.
Give me the interview and I'll tell you. Yeah. All right. So if you were going to tell somebody something they don't know about the homeless, right, what would you tell them?
Well, there's the old joke from Jake Johansson that says, "Don't give any money to the homeless because they're."
Do you hear that quality? I think you could hear that. I hope so. It looked like you could. The quality on this is ridiculously good. But wait, there's more. Wait, I tell you, wait. Just wait, seriously, wait. Hold on. Podcast. Hold on. Podcast. Okay, podcast. Come on, Seiji. Type, man. Podcast recorder. Okay? So check it out right here. The one that comes up first is Opinion Podcast, totally free. You download it, the world's only easy-to-use podcast maker. Record, edit, and publish online for free. Ready for Twitter, Facebook, iTunes podcast directory, and any listening app. We also give you a great homepage and an RSS feed. Really? That's nice. That's amazing. Okay. More on that in a second. Boss Jock Studio for the serious podcaster. You dish out all of $10, $9.99, and they give you this amazing tool. That you can add intros and outros and all kinds of effects and that sort of thing. Really cool. Really cool. Amazing. It's just amazing. And you can go on Amazon, just do a search in Amazon for iPhone microphone. If you don't like the quality of the audio on this microphone, you can do that. And you can plug just plug a microphone right into your iPhone and you have a podcast studio, ladies and gentlemen. But if you're like me and you're obsessed with gadgets, go ahead and spend a few $100 on the H4n. I forget what it cost. $250? Podcast. Hey John, what to podcast? Yes, what's up, man? Okay, good point. I'm going to bring that up. H4n, really amazing audio recorder. It has this these microphones built right in, or you can plug big old microphones right into the bottom of this baby. So I could put this microphone right here, this one here, or I got this, this other Rode mic, plug it right into it, and it'll power it, the whole deal. Unbelievable. So John brings up a point, is podcast equals videocast these days, he asks. We are seeing that, but I have to say these hardcore podcasters are continuing to do just audio. And here's the thing. If you're going to do a podcast, you have to upload it somewhere. You cannot, for example, upload a video to YouTube and then tie it into the iTunes podcast directory. Okay, so you have to buy space. And long story short, there's a lot of options, but what I'm going to tell you is that my recommendation is Libsyn. Libsyn. You are not going to get away from doing this for free any longer. There is no free place to upload podcast information. That would be an interesting market, by the way. Become the YouTube of podcasting, give away free space. You'll have to somehow figure out how to monetize it. I don't know. You can figure it out. You're smarter than me. Billing, let me see if I can show you what this costs. Okay, here it is. So it starts at $5. Come on, scroll with me now. There you go. $5 a month that's the classic 50. That's 50 megabytes a month. That means 50 megabytes of new content a month. For $15 a month, you get 250 megabytes and so forth. Can you see what's happening there? You see? The 400 is megabytes, 800 megabytes. And what I can tell you is if you start doing video podcasts, you're going to eat that data up right away, super fast. And so you have to contend with that. I've also uploaded podcasts to the Amazon servers. A lot more technical to do that. But here's the reason why I like Libsyn, is because they make it easy for you. You record it, you upload it, and then it creates the RSS feed. Now, in order for you to get into podcast directories, you need an RSS feed. Do you feel me? Do you feel it? Do you see what I'm saying? You need the feed. Feel the need for the feed, baby. You need the feed. In order for iTunes to take your podcast. So that is the deal. So what you'll do is you upload to a place like Libsyn, and then you only have to do it once, submit RSS feed to iTunes, okay? So you just come in here making a podcast. So here, let's go here. Let's see. Okay, actually, let's see if this video is any good. I haven't watched it. Let's watch it together, shall we?
Hi, this is Ray from thepodcasterstudio.com, and I'm going to show you how to submit your podcast to the iTunes Store. All right, submitting your podcast to the iTunes Store is really easy. Simply locate the URL of your RSS feed. In my case, this is located in the dashboard of my WordPress site under my PowerPress settings. Yours may be located using FeedBurner, and you'd find that here. Copy your URL to your RSS feed to your clipboard or write it down in a text file. If you don't already have the iTunes software, download that first. Then open up your iTunes software on your desktop, browse to the podcast section, find the Submit a Podcast link, paste or type in your RSS feed URL, log into iTunes if you're not already logged in, or create a new account. Confirm the details of your feed are correct, your album artwork, your title, the host name, your description, the correct categories. Click Submit, and you're done. Now you'll just wait patiently. iTunes will take a look and listen to your show and get back to you within about 1 to 14 days, usually within a couple days, sometimes as quick as an hour. But be patient. When your show is accepted, you'll receive a confirmation email with all the details for your podcast. Keep this email, it's important. And within a few days, your podcast will become searchable in the iTunes Store once it's been cached on the Apple servers. Congratulations, you've submitted a podcast to iTunes. Check out thepodcasterstudio.com for more tutorials like these and hours of free how to podcast content.
nice video. That was worth watching. So that is no, I don't need more videos. Thank you though. So that is the process. So it is all handled through a place like Libsyn. Now, SoundCloud has been coming on the scene with this as well, and this is kind of where the cool kids have been hanging out. So let me go over here and show you. So you can just go. It says here you have 180 minutes left. Pro accounts have more time and access to advanced features. So this could be a potential thing that you use as well. Now, I've never used SoundCloud, so I cannot comment on that. On whether or not it is, how it works or that sort of thing. But I do know that SoundCloud gets a lot of play. And so, that is basically it in a nutshell. Now, what I believe that people, I think a lot of times people rely on, or they're hoping to rely on like different directories to be found and that sort of thing. And my experience is that is not the case. That the way you get found and get your podcast listened to is through your own audience. And this is the evolution that I'm seeing in marketing across the board. Creating your own audience becomes crucial. I find it more and more difficult for people to break into search engines of all kinds, hoping that somebody will find you in an organic search somewhere and will then buy your product, listen to your podcast, watch your videos, becomes a more and more difficult process. And it's simply just because there's more and more content. And the amount of content that is out there today is staggering. The last time I heard, this was a couple years ago, that every year, what did they say? Something like every 30 days there is more content put on YouTube than was ever put on NBC, ABC, and CBS since the beginning of those networks. It's prolific. And so the only way you can stand out, the only way that you can develop a following, or just listeners, is to develop an audience. And it takes time, and so much time. But that's what we're here for. And, I get to see Pam Hoffman and John Ingham, and it's awesome because you all have invested time to show up and hopefully watch a show that actually happens and is mildly informative. But I gotta say, a lot of times people don't want to go to a show where their brain has to work. A lot of times people want to just go watch people talk about things that are interesting to them, like politics or religion or playing a video game. I can't tell you how often people watch other people playing video games. And so a podcast gives you that time where you can just relax and have an interesting conversation about a topic. And that's what a podcast is. That's what people come to podcasts for. And so oftentimes I'll see people will have a regular show, like for example, you'll have this show where it is about marketing or something along those lines. And then they'll have a podcast that is the same people, but talking about topics that really interest them. And that's where I'm kind of leaning, is to get back into that, because quite honestly, those are really fun to do. Getting to just talk about topics that interest you about in life, really very, very cool. And so, I would encourage you to do it. because what I'm finding is if your content doesn't really resonate with people, or they're like, yeah, that's interesting, but really, I'm good. Then you're not going to develop an audience. But if you have a podcast where people talk about things that interest you, like your politics, your religion, or I don't know what drugs you're on, or your diet, or your exercise, what you're watching on TV, you must do something, right? For some reason, people are really into that, and that's what can drive people. Pam, I love because she's into astrology, and I gotta say, like, there are great science podcasts out there. Bill Nye, right? So Bill Nye, the science guy podcast. Let's see who he's on. He's on Star Talk Radio. So here, and these are, they get millions of listens. It's just like, because it's super, super awesome stuff. So, having a podcast about astronomy, that's embarrassing. Astronomy would make a ton of sense. All right, everybody, that's all I have to say about it. Really give it some thought. Try to get a podcast. If you want to do a podcast and you need help, just let me know. And don't forget here, just really quickly, if you're here on the page, don't forget Sage Rock Startup, $19 a month. I'm going to move that to $29 a month. It gives you a whole website, the whole deal, guidance, everything. You can learn more. So if you're interested in it, think about it, because as soon as I get around to it, I'm raising the price $10 a month. So there you go. All right, everybody. Have a great week. And Greg will be back, I think, unless he decides to live in the Bahamas, which I don't blame him. I would. Well, hopefully Greg will be back. He'll be back. Of course he'll be back. All right, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you all next time.